Hey y'all, welcome to Scareticulous. I want to talk to you all about Dexter Resurrection, specifically this latest episode, and we're about 3 episodes away from the end of the season. This show has already been greenlit for another season, so that should tell you a bit about how the show is being received. Suffice it to say, this video will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen episodes 1 to 7 yet, go do that. Otherwise, sit tight and like and subscribe to the channel. That said, this latest episode seems to be stirring up a bit of controversy for a number of reasons, which for Dexter is unusual since everyone seems to be on the same page usually. One of these controversies involves Captain Angel Batista, and another one involves the Gemini Killer. I'll go over both in this video. Not only does Dexter have to look after his son Harrison, who just got cleared of committing murder in the very hotel he works at, but he also has to contend with the serial killer club he was recently inducted into and making sure not to come across as suspicious. Or as suspicious as you can be in a serial killer club. After taking out not 1, not 2, but 3 of the killers in the club, suspicions are going to be raised against him being the one picking them all off. But Dexter's smarter than that, y'all know that. It's Dexter we're talking about, and he's always got a plan. In the latest episode, Dexter finds out that the Gemini Killer had a special secret, that he was in fact a twin and that both brothers worked together. So after dispatching of one twin, he was shocked to learn that another twin is still alive and joins them on their helicopter trip to that little getaway Prater, the benefactor of the club, takes them to. So what's Dexter's grand plan here? Well, he decides to provoke, intimidate, and kill Gemini right in front of everyone there at the gathering. A shocking and risky move, considering any mistake could get him taken out by Prater's head of security, Charlie, played by Uma Thurman. Earlier in the episode, Dexter does a little show and tell to describe what he feels when he is killing, putting on his Red Schmidt mask and having to hide who he really is. Prater is taken by this and has a little heart-to-heart about the man who killed his parents and how he formed a bond with him as a child. What happens next in this scene is interesting because Dexter wanders over to where Gemini is sitting on a stone bench in the courtyard. He starts out kissing Gemini's ass and appealing to his narcissism, a classic Dexter move when trying to ingratiate himself to a killer to make them drop their defenses. The next thing he does is admit to killing Gemini's twin brother, a move that's ballsy, I know, but there's a specific reason why he does it. He provokes even further by mentioning his brother burning in his furnace. That's when Gemini takes his wine glass, smashes it on the bench, and lunges at Dexter with it, cutting his arm in the process. This might seem messy, but it's important that Gemini was seen making the first move so as not to seem like the aggressor in this scenario. Keep in mind, everyone is watching from a few yards away, so he has to make this look convincing. Then Dexter stops the interaction once he gets Gemini to react how he wants, wrestles him to the floor, stabs him in the throat with a piece of glass so he bleeds out quick and can't talk, and ruin his plan. He even says he'll never get used to killing in front of an audience, which means he does this not because he wants to or to be reckless, but because he has to in order to remove himself from suspicion. When Gemini bleeds out, Prater and the rest come running when Dexter calls for help. He then explains how Gemini was planning on taking them all out, and so he had to protect himself. Charlie dressed his wound afterward, but you could tell she felt suspicious about the whole thing. Prater bought it, hook, line, and sinker, since before this he convinces Prater of his bullshit story, which basically secured that he would not be put under suspicion after this fact. The reason this scene is brilliant is because Dexter is such a careful and calculated killer, and everything he does is for a reason. He's a master manipulator. If he had killed Gemini in the same fashion he usually does and Gemini just disappeared, he would be under major scrutiny if he became the only one left. Dexter has committed himself to taking out everyone in the serial killer club, but in order to do that he needs to think smart. After 3 people are taken out, it's time to do something drastic to remove all suspicion from him. And since he already sussed out his now deceased brother's narcissistic personality, taking the remaining Gemini killer out was no problem. He knew exactly how to manipulate him and get him to do exactly as he wanted. And once he spun the situation a certain way, he was cleared. Some people were saying that Dexter was messy in this scene, that Dexter would never do this out in public. It's too dangerous, etc. But this isn't always the case. Dexter has made drastic moves like this before, especially when the stove is too hot and calls for drastic action. Even going back to season 1 of Dexter where he headbutts Sergeant Dokes, he has always been somewhat of a provocateur when need be, depending on the situation at hand. In every other circumstance involving a kill, he removes all traces of his existence as usual. In this environment, however, a different approach was needed. Because you also have to understand, in Dexter's mind, all of these people are living on borrowed time anyway, so their knowledge of him as a killer is temporary at best. Dexter has a running timeline of everyone who eventually lands on his table, and they're all eventually getting on it. Speaking of Dexter's kill table, this leads me to Captain Angel Batista, who is quickly becoming a thorn in Dexter's side in this season. There's a confrontation at the end of the episode that really sent some people off the deep end with theories. First, I'll say what led up to this moment so we can follow the course of logic the show is running with. Dexter, as we all know, has a certain code that he follows, and everyone who goes on his kill table needs to fit that code or else Dexter won't follow through. Batista and Dexter have been friends for a long time, but now that Batista is hot on Dexter's trail and has finally figured out the Rubik's Cube of lies Dexter has spun for years, running away from accountability for the deaths of hundreds of people, including Deborah Morgan, Dexter's sister, Dexter's wife Rita, and Captain LaGuerta, and blaming the Bay Harbor Butcher on Sergeant Dokes when it was him the whole time, it's finally time for Dexter to pay the piper. Not only that, but he knows Dexter is covering for his son's recent murder against that hotel guest. Angel has it all figured out now, and the only question now is what piece of evidence will put Dexter away for good. After Angel follows Dexter home and sees him at his next door neighbor and landlord's apartment, the two have a little heart-to-heart as Dexter drives Angel to wherever he's staying. This is when things get tense, as Angel communicates in no uncertain terms that he knows who Dexter is and that he's taught Harrison how to kill. At this point, Dexter lets Angel know that it will be very dangerous for Angel if he continues pursuing him and his family, and it would be wise to walk away now, basically saying, if I really am who you think I am, is it smart to keep going? Angel refuses and gets out of the car, but not before placing a tracker on the car so he can keep up with Dexter's comings and goings. Now, this was a fantastic scene, and Michael C. Hall really drove home his intensity as Dexter. When you see that eyebrow curl, that's when you know you're in trouble. And if Angel isn't scared yet, then he should be. I'm impressed by Angel's refusal to run away from this case, but I understand why he feels he has to press on. My only gripe with this scene is how Dexter lets Angel believe that he killed Deborah, Captain LaGuerta, and others. I think this is because Dexter doesn't want to incriminate himself, just in case there's any recording devices in play. That said, I do think this will come into play later and will become apparent to Angel that Dexter didn't kill Deb or Maria. The controversy surrounding this scene is that apparently some people want Dexter to kill Batista. Wow! I mean, I understand maybe not liking the character very much, and also being so attached to Dexter that you want Angel to be taken out, but this is not the way to do it, folks. Listen, Dexter has a code that is very strict, and Angel does not fit that code in the slightest, no matter how annoying he's getting. It's what separates Dexter from other scumbag serial killers to begin with, and the whole reason we root for him. He does the right thing even as a sociopathic killer, and only takes those out who truly deserve it. Angel, though a nuisance right now, does not fit the code, and I don't even think Dexter could come close to doing that to Angel, at least not intentionally. We'll know soon enough what the writers have in mind for the next few episodes, but here's what I think will happen. I think that Dexter and Angel will eventually come to some kind of understanding of everything that happened in the past, and moving forward into the future. I also think a greater threat is going to come into play with all these chess pieces moving in the background currently concerning Prater and the Ripper. A lot of people also have theories concerning the Ripper as well, which I'm not going to even get into, but at that point, Batista will probably realize he needs Dexter, and even though he knows what he knows, he will know why Dexter does what he does. At least that's what I'm hoping. I know some of these shows are like Game of Thrones, although let's be real, Dexter was Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones, and they love killing good characters off. Angel's a good cop, just trying to do the right thing. And when you think about it, he has a lot of investment in this case going up to 30 years now. And right now, he believes Dexter is an evil killer who got away with killing a lot of people close to him. He has the motivation, the relatability, and the history that no other character has on this show. And y'all want to kill him? He had such an interesting bit of dramatic stakes and backstory, and he's really the only person who has put Dexter into full context at this point. Nobody else in the series right now understands as much as Angel does about Dexter, not even his own son. He doesn't yet understand the greater complexity to Dexter because that's something he only shares with us, the viewer, and I think it's easy for viewers to lose sight of that. Either way, I hope they can resolve this plotline in a satisfying way, and not in a way that makes me throw my laptop across the room, as that can easily happen when watching a show I'm invested in that does something stupid. I'm looking forward to the rest of the show. This season is a banger, and while Dexter Original Sin felt a bit tired, this season feels like a breath of fresh air, and I seriously hope they veer away from the flashbacks in future seasons of Original Sin, because those were only interesting the first go around. Now it just feels tired, but that's a subject for another day. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time on Scareticulous. See you then.